So you will see a few icons at the bottom of a browser that open and close any widget within the browser. I have included a survey for today's event. Please take a moment to fill that by clicking the survey widget, and it will open in a new browser window. We appreciate all your feedback. And again, welcome to the webinar today. What is cloud computing? Our presenter, Reed Maloney, joined Amazon Web Services in 2010 and is now the head of digital marketing team. Prior to this role, Reed was a product marketing manager, responsible for developing best practice content and presenting on the following topics: web applications, gaming, and cloud computing for the federal government. You can read more about Reed's background from the speaker bio window. Today, we're also pleased to have Adam Glick, the leader of consumer applications, to join our Q&A session. We see now people are joining our webinar. We'd like to learn a little bit about you to help tailor our presentation today. Please take a moment to take 3 poll questions. The first question, are you currently using Amazon Web Services? Please make a choice and click Submit. Okay, let's see the result. Great. So I think that most of our audiences today are still our potential customers. The second question, do you have an upcoming project for our cloud computing? Please take a moment and make a choice and click Submit again. Okay. It's exciting to see that we have so many people recognizing the benefits of cloud computing. Let's get to the third question. Which one of the following best describes you and your organization? Again, please take a moment to make a choice and click Submit. Great. Thanks, everyone, for taking the poll. I'm now handing this over to Reed to present for today's webinar, What is Cloud Computing? Reed, you have the floor.
Great. Thank you, Bowen, and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I wanted to start by sharing a short story. Last week, one of my team members came up with an idea for a web app that should improve the customer experience for our customers on our website. And we determined that this app needed to be run on its own infrastructure, which can create its own set of challenges. And so before Amazon Web Services, it really could have taken us months to have actually gotten the infrastructure we needed just to set up the development environment required for this application. And now with AWS, really getting this infrastructure that we needed to start on the project was not a blocker at all in getting that project started. And we could get the infrastructure we needed in literally just minutes. And now, because of that, our customers are likely to get value from this application much, much sooner. And it's really experiences like these that makes it so exciting to introduce AWS to you all today. So we're going to cover really the basics today. We're going to cover what is cloud and its benefits, who is using the cloud and what are they using it for, and our products and how do I use them to run my workloads. And what I noticed from the poll is it looks like we had a lot of people that have projects in the next 0 to 3 months. And we're going to just briefly touch on architectures today. But typically when you're that close to your project timelines, you're going to be wanting to look at how to design your application with the set of products that we're going to be introducing today. And so for those, I really recommend after this webinar visiting our Architecture Center or actually connecting with AWS directly and trying to connect with potentially one of our solution architects to ensure that you get the right design for your application. So moving on, what is cloud computing? So whether you're joining us today from academia or real estate or retail, your business depends or your work depends on applications that run reliably and securely. And so at AWS, we provide a set of compute, storage, database, and application services that are all available via the internet to actually help you run these applications. Now, these services are available on demand, and you pay only for the resources that you use. And this type of access to IT resources generates 6 main benefits for our customers. The first is based on this pay-as-you-go billing model. With traditional infrastructure, you have to guess at how much capacity you will need over the next 3 to 7 years, and then you pay for much or at least a lot of it all on day one. Now, this ties up money that you could be spending on other things that benefit your business, and it's very difficult to forecast your needs accurately over such a long period of time. So with AWS, you pay for just what you need and when you need it. Second, AWS helps you lower the total cost of IT in terms of running those applications and workloads that are core to your business. So since we invest at such a high scale, we are able to pay less per unit. And we also run our business on a high volume, low margin basis. And so this combination of high scale and then also with low margins allows us to continually pass on lower and lower prices to our customers, which we've been able to do now 34 times since 2006. Third, you don't need to guess capacity. Now, with the elasticity of AWS, you no longer need to forecast your demand by buying up front. You can get the ability to scale up to meet the needs of your variable workloads, and then you can give us that capacity back when you're scaling up to meet the peak demand and then giving it back to us when that peak is over. Now, you could deal with daily spikes, around, say, 6 p.m., or you could deal with a spike where people are coming into the office at, say, 8 or 9 a.m., or you might be dealing with it more on like an annual basis, like the December retail boom, or on a monthly and quarterly basis associated with things like accounting workloads. And in any of these cases, being able to match your resources to the demand for your application has considerable advantage over the traditional IT model. We see our customers do amazing things when they reduce the cost to experimentation. It really moves IT from being a potential roadblock to innovation to a place where IT is actually enabling and even fostering innovation within their own businesses. Innovation can take a lot of money, it can take a lot of time, and investing in speculative projects where there's so much money and time invested up front, it makes it very difficult to invest in many projects, of which it's difficult to know which ones will ultimately be really successful and a big driver for your business. And so with AWS, you can experiment often and you can fail quickly at a low cost, enabling you to try out many more ideas within your business. Fifth, you get rid of undifferentiated heavy lifting. Things like racking and stacking, providing power to those servers in your data center really just doesn't help businesses win over their competitors and win over their customers. It takes a lot of time and money to really it can be a big distraction from your core activities, which can really truly differentiate you. And so also with the economies of scale we mentioned earlier, we can do this at a very low cost in terms of managing in terms of managing the IT infrastructure. And six, you can go global in minutes. Since we've invested in facilities all over the world, we can offer our customers global reach. Many times customers would like to put their applications closer to their customers. Then their customers get a better experience, there's better performance and lower latency, but the cost of going through either working with providers in that country to be able to put up their applications there or even building out their own areas takes so much time and costs so much that they end up not doing it. And in this case, we make it so much easier to go global that businesses are able to then provide their customers that better experience by moving applications that would otherwise not be global into multiple different data centers globally. So with these benefits, who is actually using the cloud, and what are they using it for? Now, many of the world's largest companies are using the cloud to solve their problems, as you can see here on this slide. And we're going to go and dive into some specific examples of some companies and what they're doing with Amazon Web Services. First, we're going to start with Shell. So Shell is using us to develop software. There's one of our customers that's doing that. And software development can be an inherently variable workload because it's project-based. So when a project heats up, you want to put resources into that project to accelerate the delivery of it. And when the project is over, you may no longer need those resources. And so with AWS, we allow Shell and customers like Shell to add as much capacity as they need to support their software development efforts. And then we also allow them to remove those resources when either that project's over or their needs for software development over a period of time may ramp down. Another example is Newsweek. So Newsweek's using us to run dynamic web applications. And in 2009, they started looking for cost-cutting opportunities. Now, the publication realized that migrating its online presence from its previous co-location facility to a cloud service provider would significantly reduce its operating expenses. And as you can see, they were able to reduce their operating expenses by 50%. And after exploring various options, they chose us due to our comprehensive set of services, which we're going to be covering later on in the webinar. You can also see they have a benefit of scale here as well. And so Newsweek has over 1 million page views per hour, and so they're able to scale up to meet the needs during peak demand and then scale back down when the demand's not so high, saving them money. Shaw Media is a television broadcasting division of Shaw Communications. It's one of Canada's largest media and communications companies. And so Shaw Media's conventional television network, Global Television, reaches almost 100% of Canadians. It's comprised of, and complemented by 18 specialty channels, such as things like HDTV Canada, Food Network Canada, History, and Showcase. And so AWS really helped make it possible for Shaw Media to implement a disaster recovery plan. They didn't have a disaster recovery plan before Amazon Web Services because it was too expensive to set up a second physical site. And so using AWS allowed them to implement a disaster recovery strategy at a fraction of the cost. So S&P Capital IQ provides data, research, and analytics to institutional investors, investment advisors, and wealth managers around the world. The company offers a broad suite of capabilities designed to help track performance, generate alpha, and identify new trading and investment ideas, and perform risk analysis and migration strategies. So when they looked at Amazon Web Services, they were already exploring the use of Hadoop. And they saw that we had this product called Amazon Elastic MapReduce, which again we'll touch on later in the presentation. And they liked the ability of how they could integrate what they were doing with Amazon Web Services and using the service Amazon Elastic MapReduce to run highly parallel processing jobs across a very large number of servers. And this type of integration really helped them power their use case and their business. So Lionsgate is a $2 billion diversified global entertainment corporation, and they feature hit feature films and television shows such as the show like Mad Men and the movie Hunger Games. And as a successful media company, they were faced with the IT challenges of many growing businesses. They had ever-expanding infrastructure and costs. They had increasing enterprise application workloads. They had tighter time-to-market requirements, so forth. And they were looking for a solution to SharePoint and SAP in terms of the applications that they needed to expand and run on. And when looking at Amazon Web Services, they were able to reduce their costs by running these applications with us by around 50%, saving them about $1 million over 3 years. Now, Nasdaq used AWS to build an entirely new line of business. Now, they had an idea, and this is a type of idea where this could have gone really well, or it maybe wasn't going to be a great business idea. And so this is being able to have access to the resources to have essentially experimented with this new line of business called FinCloud, and having it be so successful was something they may not have done otherwise if they had to deal with the upfront investment of really creating and building out the data centers that would have been required to support this new line of business. Samsung really was able to improve their customers' experience by launching an application called Smart Hub. So Smart Hub is really the center point of these connected devices, and connected TVs. And so it helps customers, engage with social media. It helps people find their content and deal with other applications, just like people would, on your computer or your tablet. And so they needed a place where they could launch this application where it could deal with the different demands that are put on it on a daily basis based off of when people are actually engaging with this type of technology on their connected TVs. And so they ended up going with Amazon Web Services for that application, and by doing so were able to save $34 million by running the Smart Hub application with AWS. So what products are these companies using to succeed with the cloud? We sort of touched on Elastic MapReduce a little bit earlier, so we're going to cover the products that we offer and then how you can use them to run your workloads. So this is really a simple view of the set of services that we offer. And at the core, you can see our compute, storage, and database services. And they're really sort of the heart of our offering. And then we surround these services with a range of supporting components and management tools, and also networking services that really help augment these core services to help you run scalable, low-cost, and reliable applications. Now, all of these services are hosted within our global data center footprint. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So this is a picture of our global data center footprint, and we span 5 continents, and we have 9 regions. And each of these regions, there is a set of highly redundant clusters of data centers. And so each region is not a data center. We actually have what we call availability zones, which are in each of these different regions. And so you can see how we're spread across the globe currently. And also with our set of services, we really have them architected for enterprise security requirements. And as you can see, we've achieved a wide range of industry and government accreditations. And these are specifically security accreditations. Now, if you want to continue to really dive in and learn about security, we're not going to cover sort of our approach and all the details of how we're able to achieve this and the controls we put in place in this particular session. You can either find and watch a video on this that we have on our YouTube channel, or you can go to our security center and you can read in our security center or download our security white paper. And we go really in depth into how we're able to, or how we architect and how we enable to be this high level of security for all of our services. Also with our services, while we've talked a lot about this pay-as-you-go billing model, we actually offer many different billing models for our services that meet the needs of our customers. And we want to make sure that we meet the need, that we have the right billing model for each of our customers. So for when you're getting started, we know a lot of customers will actually start within our free tier where they can try out different services or run, we'll say, small-scale POCs. Then we have the on-demand model where we talked about where you pay for what you use. And then we also have this model that we call reserved capacity, or in the case of EC2, reserved instances. And when you're able to, we'll say, estimate, we'll say, some or maybe all even of the capacity you'll need, you can make a one-time low payment and receive a significant discount on that capacity overall. We also offer a model called spot. And spot pricing is where you actually pay what amounts to a market rate for different compute capacity. And so this rate is, you can bid a certain amount that you want to pay for that capacity, and when it comes online, you can use it at that rate. And so it's really good for more like transient workloads or workloads that are highly parallel, where you could drop a worker node within the processing job and it wouldn't impact the overall job. Or you could add a bunch of worker nodes within that job and it would greatly speed up and lower the cost of your overall job by incorporating them. And then we also have a dedicated offering, which is really for companies with specific compliance requirements where they need to be within a virtual private cloud environment and on dedicated hardware. So now we're going to cover within these different when we sort of had that diagram at a high level that explained the categories of our products. Now we're going to get into some more of the specifics of some of our products that are in each of these categories. And so the first one I'd like to start with is Amazon EC2. So Amazon EC2 is our service for elastic virtual servers in the cloud. And with Amazon EC2, you can really choose Windows or you can choose Linux. And we offer a really wide variety of different Linux operating systems and Windows operating systems. And then we also offer a very large variety of different instance types. And so an instance type is a different configuration of CPU, memory, and networking. And across the different types, they're set up to work with, obviously, with different applications depending on the requirements you have for your virtual servers for your application. And if you go into our EC2 instance types on our website, you can investigate all the different types we have, but we've been building these out based off of what we hear from our customers, and we'll continue to create the ones that our customers ask for to ensure we have the ones that meet the needs specifically for your application. Along with EC2, we have this product called auto scaling, which really allows you to automate your sort of EC2 fleet, or the number of EC2 instances that you have to support your application, so that when you hit these demand peaks, instead of having to manually continue to add resources to ensure that your application continues to perform at the level you need it to perform at, and then also remove those instances after that peak to ensure that you're saving money, you can set up auto-scaling rules to do that for you. So for example, you could set up a rule that says when my CPU utilization hits 75% or 70%, I want to add another EC2 instance. Auto-scaling is the service that enables you to do that. And then as you have multiple EC2 instances deployed, elastic load balancing is our service to ensure that all the traffic that's coming in either from your internal customers or from external customers that's putting load on your application, it's balanced across all of those servers. And so those are our compute services. On the networking services side, we offer something called Amazon VPC, which stands for Virtual Private Cloud. And this allows you to logically isolate your own set of Amazon EC2 instances into your own virtual private cloud environment. And so this is good for customers who need that type of logical isolation of their resources, or for applications where it may be they may have a compliance rule that requires this type of configuration. Then we offer a product called Amazon Direct Connect. And Amazon Direct Connect allows you to actually directly link and bypass the public internet from your corporate data centers into the Amazon Web Services Cloud. And these are offered in 1 gigabit and 10 gigabit connections. And you can establish those through the internet. You can look at how to set those up if that's something that you need for your business. And then we have a product called Amazon Route 53, which is our domain name system service. And this service offers some features to help take your customers, your users, and route them to your applications. And one of those features that has to do that very quickly is called latency-based routing. So within latency-based routing, we're actually analyzing the fastest way to route a user to your application. And then we also have another service for Route 53, feature of Route 53 called DNS failover. And so what Route 53 will do is it'll help detect if there's an outage of your website on an edge location or on your origin server in one area, and it will then, once it detects that, route them to alternate locations where your application is operating properly. Now, for storage services, let's start with Amazon Elastic Block Store, which is really just block storage for use with Amazon EC2. So Amazon EBS allows you to create storage volumes from 1 gigabit to 1 terabyte, and that can be mounted as devices on your Amazon EC2 instances. Now, you can mount multiple volumes to the same instance. And EBS also allows you to provision a specific level of I/O performance if you desire that. So by choosing something like provisioned IOPS, for your volume, and that would allow you to predictably scale to thousands of IOPS per Amazon EC2 instance. Now, with Amazon S3, this is our object storage service. It's really built for internet scale storage. And it can take files up to 5 terabytes. And as you see in the image, or as you can see on the slide, Amazon S3 is good for things like images, videos, files, log files to be used in analysis of some of the products we'll cover later. And these files can be accessed and delivered to anywhere. Just via Amazon S3. So let's say you have some images within your website. You can upload those images to Amazon S3. You can mark them as public, and you can take those links and put them into your web pages. And Amazon S3 will actually deliver those images for you when those pages are requested. Now, the data for Amazon S3 is only stored in the region that you specify. So if you remember that global slide we presented earlier where we have these different global regions, Amazon S3 will ensure that your data stays in that region and is then replicated to deliver over 11 nines of durability. And then Amazon Glacier is our archiving service, which customers can use to reliably store large or small amounts of data, and you can do so for as little as 1 cent per gigabyte per month. And then AWS Storage Gateway is our service to help you integrate your on-premises IT and AWS storage together. Some of the application services we offer are services like CloudFront, and CloudFront is our content delivery network. This is a global network with dozens of edge locations all over the world to ensure that customers can have their pages load fast, and that your application will load fast for your customers, no matter where it's set up. And so Amazon CloudFront can deliver both static and dynamic content up to the point where it can essentially deliver your entire dynamic site depending on your use case. And then we have Amazon Cloud Search, which is a managed search service for your applications that you can integrate into the applications that you have as well. And then also Amazon Elastic Transcoder, which is a transcoding service for media that you'd be using within your applications. Amazon RDS is our managed relational database service, and Amazon RDS is available for MySQL, SQL, and Oracle databases. And what Amazon RDS does is it really handles a lot of the administrative tasks that you would have to do otherwise by putting these all into our managed service for those databases. Amazon DynamoDB is our managed NoSQL database service that is designed to be very very high performance for applications that have large levels of throughput in terms of input and output requests to the database, and it's also managed to scale very simply. So if your application, let's say, it needs 50,000 writes per second, and you see yourself getting close to that 50,000 writes per second level, you can actually just go into the AWS Management Console where you're able to control your AWS resources, increase that to, say, 100,000 writes per second, and basically click Enable. And we'll do the rest of the work for you to scale to ensure that we can maintain very fast performance across any level of scale that you need for your application. And then we also have a caching service called Amazon ElastiCache, and then this is an in-memory caching service to use within your applications where you have caching requirements. In terms of big data services, here's Amazon Elastic MapReduce, again, that we talked about a little bit earlier, and this is our managed, this is really our hosted Hadoop framework. And so this is the service you use if you'd want to run Hadoop with AWS. And so we do some things to make it easier to use Hadoop. We integrate with a lot of other technologies like Hive and Pig and that are often used with Hadoop to make it, and we also do things to integrate with those spot instances I described earlier. So if you wanted to add additional worker nodes quickly to process your data more at a lower cost and to complete it more quickly, Amazon Elastic MapReduce makes that process much easier for your EMR jobs. Amazon Data Pipeline helps you move data among AWS services and on-premise data sources. So it's really for moving data from one data source to another. And then Amazon Redshift is our petabyte scale data warehouse service. And so this is for this is more for structured data that you want to put in for really fast analysis of any of your data sets, but up to your largest data sets as well. And then we offer a range of deployment and administration tools as well. So we offer Amazon CloudWatch to monitor your different resources. So you could monitor the, let's say, the CPU on your EC2 instances with Amazon CloudWatch. We have AWS Identity and Access Management, which enables you to take groups of users and give them specific permissions, or you could give just a single user specific permissions for the IT resources in either your portion of the business or the business overall. AWS OpsWorks is a DevOps framework for application lifecycle management. It can make it simpler to deploy your applications and manage different stacks within of software on your EC2 instances. And it also helps you manage that over time as you potentially do updates and versions to your software or to the underlying software that supports your application. We also have AWS CloudFormation, where you can either use templates we've already created, or you can actually build your own custom templates, which can deploy, we'll say, a set of services that help support an application. So in this drawing here, you can see like web apps and an enterprise app. There will be obviously a different set of services required to run each individual application and a different set of software that you might want to configure when you deploy those environments. And Amazon CloudFormation can make that much simpler. You can even templatize, let's say, some IT security code or IT code on any of your EC2 instances that you would want someone to use internally for your business. And with Amazon CloudFormation, you could set up these templates and you can set up rules around the templates to ensure that people internally are only able to, let's say, provision Amazon EC2 instances with this code already configured on them. And then you have Amazon Elastic Beanstalk, which is a service to help you deploy a range of different applications like Ruby, .NET, Java, Python, where you essentially upload your application and we do the work of provisioning the environment for it to run on, and then also scaling that environment as demand increases or decreases to that application. One of the things about Amazon Elastic Beanstalk is once we launch the underlying resources you need for that application, we give you direct access to, we'll say, change any of the settings or change the architecture of what is actually running your application. So we just covered a set of the products that we offer, and we are continuing to innovate and add additional products to this overall offering. But it's up to show how Gartner's positioning sort of the products that we have and sort of the vision of how we're going to continue to innovate and build and deliver for our customers overall. So we just covered a lot of products, and you can configure those in a large number of ways to solve your specific problems. Now, you could just use something like Amazon Glacier or Amazon Redshift if you're just looking for an archive or just a data warehousing solution. Or you could use many of our services together to power something like a scalable and reliable web application. And so we're going to show you a picture of what that would look like. This is a two-tier web application architecture that's running across multiple availability zones. And so these multiple availability zones are essentially different fault-tolerant data centers within one of our regions. And so you're actually balanced across two different data centers in this. So what I'd like to do is start with one of your users, and we'll just follow a request through this architecture. So the user is going to make a request to this website, this web application, and if the DNS location is not available through the web browser on the computer, it needs to go resolve the location of that. And so that's when it's going to send a request over to our domain name system service, Route 53. It's going to receive where it wants to be routed to. And in this case, depending on how you architected your application, it could be routed to Amazon CloudFront. Amazon CloudFront in this case, because it can deliver static and dynamic content, could be delivering the majority of your site and could be the main page that you actually start with to run your website, which really reduces the overall burden on your servers and can really reduce the amount of calls made to your web servers. If it's routed to your web servers, first we got to load balance those requests across the different EC2 instances you have. And so Amazon Elastic Load Balancing will load balance across your different availability zones to the servers you offer. And if you can see in this image, we just have one web server in each availability zone, but these are in auto-scaling groups. So if the requests continue to add up from these different users, you could set up your auto-scaling rules to continue to add instances in each of these groups to be able to handle that increased demand. And then as requests come into those web servers and they need information from your database, let's say that's an Amazon RDS MySQL database there as your master, they'll be able to get the information they need from your Amazon RDS master. If there were to be an issue with your master database, with Amazon RDS, we have a multi-AZ feature. So when you're setting that up, you can actually just click a box on the setup during your when you're in the AWS Management Console. You can say, oh, I'd like to have this as a high availability database in multiple availability zones. And so if there were an issue with your master, what happens is we'll ensure that your slave is then promoted to the master, and so that you are able to then your application is then back up and continuing to serve your customers in a very short period of time. And then the last product I haven't mentioned on here is Amazon S3. So Amazon S3 can serve as the origin for a lot of your static content for things like HTML, CSS, videos, images, and other things that support your website. And so it's linked in there. You could also take the logs that you're getting from your web server in this application and move those into Amazon S3 to analyze at night. And so some of the other services we talked about you could add in here that aren't in the diagram are things like cloud search. So if you want search to your application, instead of having to build out a separate third tier to have search in that application tier, you could just add in Amazon Cloud Search. And so we have features and services like that, like Amazon Simple Notification Service, Amazon Simple Email Service. For example, Amazon Simple Notification Service just launched recently mobile push, allowing customers via one API to push notifications to multiple different mobile platforms. And that's another type of feature that you could integrate into your applications. So what's the next step, and how do I take it? And so the next step is really different for every business, every person, depending on your project, depending on the stage you're in, depending on what you want to do. But there's a few things that we want to point out in terms of moving to the cloud, that it's not an all or nothing choice. You don't have to take what you have and move everything to the cloud. You don't have to start and put everything into the cloud. You can start in a way that's right for you and right for your business. And so we've done a few things to make this choice easier. One of which is we offer services to make it simpler to integrate with your existing on-premises IT. At the bottom there you can see AWS Direct Connect, which we covered. That's your ability to bypass the public internet and directly connect your data centers with Amazon Web Services with 1 and 10 gigabit connections. We also have users and access rules with identity and access management, which we covered. We have a private network, which you could do through Amazon VPC. We have Cloud HSM, which is a HSM appliance to map for you. And then obviously backups in terms of things like storage gateway. We also support a wide range of technologies. So whether you'd be looking at things like SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, and Adobe, or things like Esri or Riverbed, we support those as well, which can make moving to the cloud easier. And then our ecosystem also allows you to use your existing management tools like BMC, VMware, RightScale, Microsoft, and so forth. So if you're already using tools to manage your environment, these tools you can use to manage your environment on Amazon Web Services as well. And we also have many partners that are ready to help. When you're taking that first move to the cloud, and there may be a partner that has a significant experience with that workload or with the application you're planning on moving in, they're ready to help and often have a significant experience helping other customers run a similar workload on Amazon Web Services. So we've seen customers take a few different approaches when moving to the cloud. One of which is they start with development and test environments. So you can see customers like Lionsgate, Galactic Chemicals, the Tokyo Stock Exchange. They move to the cloud by first starting with development and in test environments. The second way we've seen customers move are just building new apps in the cloud. And we talked about some of the use cases today that customers were using. Here's an example of some more that basically started brand new applications like Ubisoft running social games, Outback running marketing campaigns, and Lamborghini running their global marketing websites. We've also seen customers use the cloud to make existing on-premise apps better. Now, whether that's adding things like backup, disaster recovery, or analytics, what they've done is take applications they're currently using and then integrate them with some of the services we have to make those apps run better. For example, we've seen this with Nasdaq on their data analytics, McGraw-Hill with Oracle databases, and Nokia also with data analytics. And there's also they use cloud apps that integrate with on-premise apps. So in terms of the app we talked about earlier from Samsung, AWS is serving all the application content and collecting all the data, and then they have a portion of that application is running on premises, which they're using for financial transactions. Other companies have also migrated existing apps to the cloud. So like Unilever has migrated 500 web properties in 5 months to the cloud, and News International, by migrating its major news properties, moved to just have 1/3 of the servers after moving to AWS. And then we have customers like Netflix who do take a little bit more of an all-in approach to the cloud, where they're trying to be experts at using the cloud rather than experts at managing infrastructure. And this approach has led them to not only be very successful in terms of scaling to meet the demands of their customers, but also towards developing tools that really really test and ensure their apps are resilient and really focus on building applications for the cloud. And one of these tools is called Chaos Monkey, where Chaos Monkey will go in and actually shut down portions of their applications and see what responds and how the application is resilient in the face of failure. And this is some of the tools Netflix has actually had started to open source that you can use within your deployments as well. So in terms of the next step, you can try us for free. Again, we mentioned the free tier before. You can just go on and play with some of the products that we have. For example, you can use either Linux or Windows micro instances within our free tier. You can also contact our sales team through our Contact Us form, or you can decide to attend reInvent. reInvent is from November 12th to November 15th in Vegas, and we're going to have a large set of technical experts, over 175 sessions, and leaders from the overall cloud industry will be there, and you can register for that event today. And with that, we want to make sure that we get your feedback on this presentation. We know that many of you have colleagues who could benefit from a presentation like this, where they can get sort of spun up on what's going on with the cloud and sort of an overview that they need to dive in deeper on the things that matter to them more. And so we really want to make sure we continue to improve this, as we're going to be offering this sort of what is cloud computing, intro to cloud computing webinar on a monthly basis, so that we can continue to cover the information people need in a short period of time to allow them to dive in more depth. And so if you could just take a moment and submit what that is, that would be really helpful for us. And with that, we're going to open it up for questions. So.
Great. Thank you, Reed, for your presentation. Before we go over the questions, I'd like to remind everyone to please take a second to fill out our survey. And then today, for the Q&A sessions, I see Adam has already addressing lots of questions. For lots of people, they're interested to know whether the slides and recordings will be available. Yes, they are. We are going to send out a follow-up email with the links to the recordings and the link to the PDF deck. So for questions, I see lots of people are interested to know if they develop their applications on Amazon Web Services, will it be easier for them if they want to move to another infrastructure? Adam, do you want to help address this?
Sure. So some people had asked about portability of their applications. When you think about application portability, it's really a question of architecture. We've designed our applications, or the services that we provide, to make your applications as flexible as possible. And so you can do what you want on top of AWS. So it's hard for me to say what every application does, because it's up to the architects and designers and developers out there to pick what they want to do. But it's the same set of pieces that you would have regardless of where you go. So if you wrote a Java application or a Ruby app or any of the other platforms that we support, and you had your code, say you store it in Subversion or GitHub or one of the source code controls, you can deploy that to EC2 instances. If you decided that you wanted to put it somewhere else, you could just as easily deploy that code somewhere else. We don't employ a lock-in strategy.
Okay, so we have a new question just coming, saying that, are there any services available to keep the OSS up to date with security patches?
So you want me to take this?
Sure.
When you think about keeping your infrastructure up to date, it's the same kind of things that you would do when you're deploying it within your own infrastructure. So whether it be, if you're in the Windows platform, setting up automatic patching there, or setting up auto downloads, or using something like System Center for site management and managing your servers that way, or if you're in the Linux world and you're using the same kind of Linux tools in order to deploy those, you might set up an auto script at startup to automatically run, apt-get update or sudo yum update, depending on which your version of Linux is. And so you can use the same tools that you use for your existing infrastructure within the AWS cloud. It's no different.
Absolutely, and there are, if you're trying to, we'll say, map more to our services or just our tools, OpsWorks is one of the services that can help you do that in terms of publishing new versions overall, and as can Amazon Elastic Beanstalk. And you could also manage this with your CloudFormation templates. After you make a push update, you can actually update your templates to ensure that anything else being launched is only launched with those updates, to help you control which parts of your infrastructure have actually been updated. And one of the advantages of the cloud is it actually can be easier to see which versions of software or updates your instances are running on than can be in traditional IT environments.
Great, and lots of people are interested to know whether they will be able to have free trials for those services such as EC2.
So as I mentioned at the end, there is, you can use a Linux, which now also includes Red Hat Linux, or Windows, and you can actually run one Windows Micro and one Linux Micro instance for up to 750 hours. And so what that amounts to is that you can run one for about essentially a year, or you could run many of them for a shorter period of time. And for EC2 specifically, that is our free trial offering. For S3, you get 5 gigabytes of storage, and for EBS, you can have 30 gigabytes of storage within the free tier.
Okay, as we are getting to the end of our webinar today, thanks everyone for joining us and all the engaging questions. We're going to follow up with each one for your individual questions. So have a great rest of the day. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Take care.